I think I have a contrarian take on the place of AI in creative strategy and advertising for meta ads and for other D2C design and production work, whether you're a brand or an agency. That contrarian take has become more nuanced for me over time, and it's actually the foundation of what we are building at AJF Growth. I think that AI is going to do some things for ad creative that are just different than what a lot of people are saying right now, and I think it's going to be really helpful. And so what I want to do today on this show is lay out for you what we are doing with AI right now based on my current point of view about the place of AI and ad creative. Let's get into it. All right, here's the great worry that everybody has about AI in ad creative, and it's endless slop, okay? There's this sort of basic theory of AI that goes like this. Like, you can now create endless creative for basically free, and therefore feeds are just going to be flooded with that. And because meta ads is a volume game, not a quality game, okay, because of that, what's going to happen here is that people are just going to force their way into, sort of brute force their way into making winning ads at massive scale. It's going to lower the bar endlessly. It's going to kill all the creative agencies. It's going to do all those kinds of things. There's some version of the future that looks like that, or that looks like some version of that is definitely a realistic possibility. Everybody's worried about AI slop, right? And I think that's a pretty good worry. I think it's pretty reasonable to be worried about AI slop. I think in general, we should be worried about just the world getting worse and about it being less interesting and all those things. And it is certainly the case right now, and we should just acknowledge this, that AI creative is already happening at massive scale. So I have a client right now who today, right now, has access to unlimited creative production with AI, and is using it. Okay, so that client is currently has built a machine, and they've actually hired a developer to help build and refine the machine more. That client has built this machine that is allowing them to produce endless amounts of new creative in their ad account. And I know other people are doing the same thing. My friend, Dr. Andrei Lunev has been public about showing how he's doing, hundreds to thousands of these ads per day, et cetera. There is a strange thing where I'm having conversations with meta reps about how, it's all about creative testing at volume and with variations, or lots of variety in your approach. And that's great. But then you also have to have a testing method where you can test the creative. And I've heard this weird thing. I mentioned this in my episode about sort of tactics and changing my mind about whatever. But there's this interesting thing where meta reps are, I think on the one hand, like I've had them say you have too many ads in learning, even though they're also telling me to make more ads. Well, how can you do both of those? And there's a weird thing where suddenly the capacity to create more ads has happened so quickly that it actually becomes really hard to know, like, oh, did we actually go from people aren't testing enough ads to people are testing too many ads so fast? Like, was the gap between those crossed so fast that like it actually just it does, like, it essentially, like, we never were in the middle period. We just skipped right over the middle period, where we sort of got the Goldilocks zone. That's like the kind of things people are thinking about. And like I said, there's this concern about like AI slop, right? The notion that like everything that is going to get produced is going to just be like bad AI, whatever. And I am starting to go the exact opposite direction. Here, let me just lay out for you what the basic theory is that I currently have about AI creative, okay? It goes like this. The real winners in the AI creative game, and therefore in the D2C and meta ads game, are not going to be the people who just use AI to produce the highest volume of stuff. It's going to be the people who create the highest volume of quality stuff. Now, that might not sound that contrarian, but I actually think it kind of is, because one of the beliefs, and I'm going to lay this out a little bit more and make the case for this a little bit more in a second, but one of the beliefs about the quantity thing here is that, like, essentially, even if quality has to win, if quantity is literally endless, okay, and is free to make, then at some point you just take enough shots and you're going to find quality in the midst of the quantity, okay? So that's the logic, that your production capacity is increased to endless, and therefore quality just kind of comes out of that naturally. Now, there's a couple problems with that, but that I see. One of them, and maybe the most important of them, is that in some respect, meta ads is not strongly incentivized to do that. Meta is going to want to make sure that people stay on the platform, and therefore the lower the quality of output that gets sent out on the platform, unless they can pre-identify it without really showing it in front of too many users, which they, I think, can sort of do right now, right? But if they can pre-identify it and predetermine whether or not it's good, then basically they're not going to want the system to be overwhelmed by garbage. And by garbage, the way I'm defining that right now is content that people hate consuming. Okay, so it may be that this all tends towards engagement bait, okay, or something like that, right? That's definitely a possible outcome. But whatever the case, the content actually has to be engaging. And here's another crucial part of this, and this undergirds a lot of my thinking right now. Okay, algorithms, by definition, have a way of sorting through large volumes of content and amplifying the most interesting, most engaging stuff. And again, I'm defining that idea of most interesting in terms of engagement, okay? In terms of the idea that it engages users for the most amount of time. Now, again, there may be actually cultural pushback at some point about just how much of our time goes towards social platforms and et cetera. And maybe there'll be a big cultural pushback on this, but that's the basic incentive that social networks have, okay? And algorithms do this incredible thing where they promote the most engaging stuff, okay? In this gigantic, literally infinite sea of content, algorithms sort through all of that and amplify the most engaging stuff, okay? And so algorithms have this way of finding the most engaging things and bringing those forward. And so the basic principle that I'm going to suggest here is that if you have the ability to create the highest quality content, defined that way, okay? And probably defined as an advertiser also in relation to how well it converts. So not just how well it engages customers, but how well it converts would be the other layer there once you get from just organic engagement reach to paid, okay? If you have the ability to create the best stuff, now you have the ability to create the best stuff at the most scale. That's what AI gives you. And therefore, the best quality creators and thinkers, etc., the people with the very best ideas about advertising, about social content, about all those things, now are going to be able to amplify the output of their ideas at the most scale, the fastest, and algorithms in turn will then amplify that for them, right? So they can now produce endless amounts of good quality stuff, okay? And then algorithms will then amplify the really good quality stuff. And therefore, the bar for quality will raise on social platforms because now there will be more good quality content produced at more scale than ever before. And yet the human attention is still limited to however many hours that people are going to spend on their phones. Now, like user growth for Facebook, right, and Instagram is basically stalled, basically capped. I think, again, there may be cultural pushback to where, if anything, people are wanting to spend less time on their phones. So I don't know, maybe there's still just like untold amounts of time that we can all spend on our phones, and that is sort of time yet to be grabbed by Facebook and by Instagram for you, okay? But there's some limit to that, so far as I can tell. If for nothing else, even in terms of fertility rates or something like that, right? You can sort of make this case however you want. There's some limit to that amount of time, but algorithms are going to continue to produce, to amplify the best content. And so, given some constraint like that, the place that I think AI has for great brands and great agencies, et cetera, is now first to raise the bar of quality, not lower it. So it will actually sort of work against slop, is what I'm saying, unless the slop is incredibly engaging, and then it's questionable whether it's called slop. And therefore, the most important thing that you can do as a brand or advertiser in relation to AI actually happens, and this is the critical point, in some respect, before you ever get to the AI itself. It happens at the level of the quality of your thinking about your brand, about your products, about your margin, which is also going to limit, your ability to hit scale. It's going to be about how you engage with the world in interesting ways. I did an interview recently with Bear Hanlon from Born Primitive. He's just one of the best guys in D2C talking about this. He's talking about jumping out of helicopters and fast roping down them and then shooting real guns as ways to produce authentic content, for Born Primitive, for their brand. He's an ex-Navy SEAL. This is really authentic to him. And he's doing these things with these giant like celebration of D-Day kits that they did that are just like amazing. And his brand is doing really cool and interesting stuff. Okay. And, Taylor Holliday's told that story a lot because they've been a CTC client for a long time, but I love talking to him about that sort of thing. It's this brand level thinking about creating really cool, really authentic experiences for a community that cares about those sorts of things, and from a founder, from a brand that cares about those sorts of things. And that's like step one. And then step two comes into like the more, and there's all the economic parts of your brand build that are with that. Okay. But then there's step two, which is actually at the level of like thinking about what makes great ads and great funnels. Now this is like where I think a lot of people are going to be stopped short. Like I'm really thinking about this like on a philosophical level. Okay. And sometimes I mean that philosophical is probably too strong of a word. I guess I mean like foundational principle level. Okay. What I mean here is like, probably the best advertisers who are going to get the most out of AI are people who have really internalized what makes great ads in the first place and what makes great communication in the first place. If you are serious about landing pages and offers as part of the way that you are going to sell products to your customers at scale, if you are serious about building great funnels that have consistent messaging from ad all the way through landing page, all the way through PDP, all the way through reviews, all those things, you should be using FERMAT to build funnels at scale. That is what FERMAT is above all else. It is sort of the most souped up landing page software that you could possibly imagine, and it goes way beyond just simple landing page stuff. So you can build, of course, all the usual stuff where there's custom content and all that connected to each ad that you run, but you can also go beyond that to build like custom in-cart upsells based off of each individual funnel. You can do custom subscription offers, all of that, all the things that make it really easy for you as a performance marketer to move fast on testing lots of the things that move the needle the most for your customers, which is a combination of the most important content your customers need to make a purchase decision and also the best offers possible. And you can do all of that while testing all of it right there in FERMAT's own system. So A/B testing landers off of meta ads is a huge pain a lot of times for a whole bunch of reasons. With FERMAT, you just put one, they call it a forever link, in your ad, and then it splits your traffic and makes the winning ad go and be in that forever link for forever. That way, basically, you never have to go and change around your winners once you've got winning ads in there. You just put that one link in there, scale it forever, and just keep upgrading the landing page as long as you can. It's just really useful, really slick stuff. And the basic point of all of this is that FERMAT exists to make it as easy and fast as possible for you as a performance marketer to make the kind of changes you want to make and test the things that you want to make at real scale. That's really the value of FERMAT, and that's why you should be testing it out for yourself. Go to fermatcommerce.com/AF to get started with it today. My clients have used it. My clients have loved it. They've scaled their businesses meaningfully. They've scaled their spends meaningfully. One of them saw like a 50% spend increase right after switching to FERMAT. Go check it out for yourself today. I think you're going to like it a lot. For example, maybe they have read Ogilvy on advertising and they've really taken it to heart, or Bill Bernbach, Breakthrough Advertising, or Claude Hopkins, Scientific Advertising, whatever. Okay, those are old books. Like maybe they're not that useful. So maybe they've read Russell Brunson and Alex Hormozi endlessly and seen those guys, or maybe they've seen what dropshippers do, who are just like the best of the best at this kind of sort of highly super tactical, just insanely tactical media buying and marketing. Okay, and it's actually beyond that though. Maybe they also can think really carefully about what makes Instagram Reels particularly perform versus Facebook desktop newsfeed, okay? And they start actually really hammering their ability to generate those kinds of specific pieces of content because people have different users, right? So there's the specificity of behaviors on those platforms, but there's more specificity. What about men versus women? I am actually amazed how little in the D2C space people talk about the differences in advertising to men and women who have persistently different shopping traits all like across the board, right? Just like, or at least on average, okay? And then what happens if you think about this relative to all kinds of other things, like how about millennials versus Gen Z versus boomers, okay? I've seen, for example, Alex P put out some stuff about this, right? Alex has been a guest on the show a couple times, and she's one of the people I've seen say something specifically about different kinds of content for different generations. Okay. And so she's, there's that kind of voice. What about like some of the stuff Sarah Levinger talks about, psychological principles and how those play in? Well, how do those psychological principles change relative to gender and relative to to generation, okay, and age, right? That kind of deal. And we could take it to other stuff. What happens if you can start thinking seriously about how people who are conservative or liberal, religious or non-religious, and you could actually start building profiles here where you go incredibly deep into thinking about how you build content for all these kinds of people. Who is your customer? How do you take the best of what David Ogilvy and Russell Brunson both have to say and how do you apply their principles specifically to Instagram Reels, to the particular shopping behaviors there of millennial Muslim women? I don't know. I don't know exactly what the take would be exactly. Okay, versus taking those same principles and applying them to whatever other group you want to mention. Okay, and here's my theory. My theory is that the better you can do at thinking carefully from the ground up about what makes great content that sells products a lot, the better I think you will do at then turning around and harnessing AI towards the outcomes that you want and towards creating the best creative. Okay, and there are some certain ideas within that now come up to the top. So here's another one. Okay. What about what kind of content you can make with AI? So now we can move from the sort of theoretical foundational principle advertising level to the next level. And by the way, really fast before I get there, it seems to me that there is relatively little of that kind of foundational level thinking actually happening in D2C, and partly because sometimes I think it hasn't always been that fruitful. So people don't go down that route because people have all these untested ideas and sort of the answer is just test, right? But there probably are some ideas in there that work, okay? And if you could actually develop those at scale, then you could probably get ahead, okay? But I just don't see that kind of thinking happening very much in the space, and I think there will be some winners who start to really grab some of that. Another name that comes to mind is Robert Cialdini, right? So just how people are persuaded of things, that could be another part of this, okay? So now you move from the theoretical level, from the brand level, okay? So it's like setting up your brand for success financially in terms of brand and product, all those things, to the theoretical advertising level, okay? You could take that same theoretical advertising stuff into the level of landing pages and offers, of course, okay? That would be another place where you could apply all that same kinds of thinking. And how do you take, $100 million offers, is that what the Hormozi book is called? Okay, something like that, and apply it to your brand. Okay, and then what happens if you now take all of that and then bring it into a production process where you're using the best AI tools possible for you to then take those ideas and operationalize them in your business for your particular brand or your particular clients? Okay, and so now you are moving to taking the principles at the theoretical level into the operational level. And if you can do that really well, now you can actually produce those ideas at scale, test them, figure out what assumptions you have that are right, that are wrong, etc., and start doing this. And there's actually another level of this, which is then to say, what are the unique ways in which there are more creative opportunities today than there were yesterday because of AI? Taylor Holiday had a great tweet. I've mentioned it in a couple places now, and I come back to it a lot right now, okay? Taylor tweeted something that I thought was so insightful. He said, there's so much energy right now going into making AI creative look more human, okay? Look more real. And that's the wrong way to think about it. The right way to think about AI creative is instead to do all kinds of crazy stuff that you could never do because now you can do AI. Now, I don't know if that'll last forever, or if it'll just become too obviously AI and everybody will kind of get over it. But the way I've thought about this is I basically now have the capacity of a major Hollywood movie studio for CGI, but I have that basically, for whatever, $100 a month or whatever the AI costs are, just at my fingertips. Okay. So I can go make crazy stuff that is world bending and mind bending and that is already totally unrealistic, but really fun, right? And you think about like the Avengers Infinity War scene where there's just this gigantic war of all of these superheroes and all this stuff. It's just CGI'd out to the moon, and you can do that now. There is no better sponsor on an episode about AI than one of the clearest AI wins you can have right now in D2C e-commerce, and that's switching your customer service software, your help desk, to RICHPANEL. RICHPANEL is an AI-first customer service help desk piece of software that will allow you to do a lot of things really, really well because of being powered by AI. So the first thing it will do is save you money. They still promise that if you switch from Gorgias or from Zendesk, you will be saving at least 30%. That's a guarantee. You'll save at least 30% on your bill. So look, run a lean OpEx in your business. That's important to building a great e-commerce business. Go do it by switching over to RICHPANEL and saving money. So there's that right away. They also generally see a 30% reduction in customer service tickets because customers have an easier time finding the answers to their questions on your website by using the self-service portal that RICHPANEL has created. Of course, there's AI-assisted responses. There's also a fully AI like automated way if you want to use that to respond to social comments on your ads, like on Facebook and Instagram. Amazing. That's like a huge pain for most people. And people are like, brands I've talked to are really happy with that service. They say the AI does a great job responding on behalf of the brand. So you can automate that. That's really, really helpful. A huge time saver. And in general, what they see is also higher customer satisfaction ratings for people, for brands when they switch to RICHPANEL. So customers are loving it. Brands are saving money. Brands are saving time. It's all the things you want in a piece of customer service help desk software. You should be going to check it out. So you should go to richpanel.com/AJF, richpanel.com/AJF, or just follow the link in the notes, okay? And go check it out for yourself. It's a 2-week transition. That's it. They know you don't have time to waste. They make it really easy for you. So a 2-week transition from whatever your customer service help desk software is right now, go over to RICHPANEL, make it happen for your brand, save some money, have a better experience. Easy decision. Who's the doctor, the Benedict Cumberbatch character? Somebody's going to be yelling at me right now. The Marvel Doctor Strange, when he like moves his hands around and he creates this like golden circle of time magic or whatever it is, right? You could do that for your $3 million a year e-commerce brand. That's available to you now, okay? You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. And so now there are creative possibilities where highly creative people can take ideas that previously they would have said, oh, that'd be really fun if I had a $10 million budget, and go, wait, I can do that now. I can make crazy stuff. And of course that applies to super unhinged, weirdo ideas, crazy stuff. It also applies to more normal stuff and just like pulling in backgrounds that are interesting and things like that without having to pick up a camera in quite the same way. And so now you've got a production process that requires some operational excellence, and you've got a creative process. And now at every step of the way, AI could probably be more helpful here. Some of you are for sure listening and thinking as I'm talking and thinking to yourself, well, okay, why would I try to go study Hormozy or Brunson or something like that when instead I could just take those, have AI study Hormozy or Brunson or Ogilvy or whatever, and pull that into its own process. Okay, right? So why don't I just have the AI do that work for me and then go create for me? And the answer is because right now, and this is probably going to change in a minute and a half, okay? Right now, I think the actual challenge is not access to the resources. It's knowing which resources to marshal and when, and discovering over time which ones to do that. Now, of course, AI on the back end of your process could also analyze the results for you and determine, categorize things and determine what's what. But so far, determine, oh, that was a Brunson idea, that was a Ogilvy idea, let's use more of those, etc. Okay? But so far, where I have seen the most magic for AI for my brands, where I've actually seen it be the most useful, has been partly the ability to produce content really fast and make it easier to test products fast and cheap and those kinds of things. Like this client I was talking about earlier, we've definitely done some of that. But for us at AJF Growth, we're starting to produce more ads with the help of an AI tool where that has had about 60 hours worth of development going into it, where we're basically for training, just for context and training and for modeling. Okay. And when I look at it right now, and the prompt has gotten extremely long. This is for like script writing and briefing for ads. Okay. And I'll just tell you, we don't have any like runaway smash hit winners from this, but we are getting more consistently, we're getting outputs of higher volumes of ads that I think are better than we've ever made before so far. And most of them are spending something. Okay. So it's rare that we're getting like, $0 spend or whatever. This is so new. I mean, it's like this month we launched it basically. Okay. That it's a little early to say, but the bet that I'm making is that we can start taking more of this kind of information, including not just the principal information, not just the creative ideas in general, but also more of the sort of like, here's an ads type that works. Now you can go replicate that really, really fast, all those sorts of things. And you can you could take that material now and train LLMs on more of that kind of content really, really fast and have it produce those things for you. Okay. So the point is that is all trending towards the best things that work the most being the thing that we produce at the most scale the fastest. Now we could take a lot of shots at this because it's so cheap right now to produce those scripts and to produce those brands. And in fact, this is one of the interesting things, AI may eventually come for all my jobs. I mean, I think the problem right now, the reason that Icon can't do this right now is that it can't actually make the creative that's good enough yet. And most people who have looked at, I mean, so far as I can tell, right? I haven't used Icon for a while. I tried it just very briefly, but so far as I can tell at this point, I don't see a tool like Icon, which promises to be a sort of end-to-end AI ad creation, endless AI ad machine. I haven't seen any AI creative yet, like that is like truly end-to-end AI that actually does a very good job producing ads. So far, most of them are just bad and don't get any spend, so far as I can tell. Okay. But they may get there, right? It may just be trained on all of the information that it gets and feedback it gets from which ads are working and which ones are not, and just turn around and use that information to do all the things I'm talking about at much more scale, much faster than I am. You just press a button, you get your ads, and that's that. Okay, that's definitely a possible outcome. But so far, for me at least, one of the really interesting dynamics I've found is that AI has actually only led me to hire people, not to fire people. Because what can happen right now is that we can produce better scripts faster than we ever could before, and I realized very quickly, oh, wait, I now need an editor. I need another video editor than I had before for the same number of clients, because now we can produce so much more content so fast. And so now if I can get another editor to work with those scripts, and now, of course, I can produce the VOs limitlessly because I can use 11 Labs to produce voice overlays. Now I can create a lot of videos extremely fast. I just need people to edit them more. Okay. And in general, it makes me, in fact, want to hire more. It makes me want to expand services because I now believe that we can produce a really high quality really high quality ads really fast for clients. In fact, I've started to think about this idea that my main job, in some ways, as CEO of AJF Growth, is to, at least for our ad creative product, for that part of our production, is to sort through the dizzying array of creative ideas and creative strategies and hone in on what can we do a great job of for clients and what can we do consistently that produces really, really good winners, and sort out and push out the noise of all of the other stuff. Okay. It's basically an idea like editor as opposed to a creator. Like I need to be able to be the person who says, no, this person's saying this, but it's actually bad. We've tested it. It's not good. Here's the things that actually work, and then produce those things that actually work at scale, or work with a teammate who can help me get the production of the best ideas there. That is, I am an idea evaluator as the CEO first, and then myself or somebody on my team has to then be the idea operationalizer. Now, I said this is contrarian, and you may be sitting here thinking there's nothing contrarian about anything you've said, and that's possible. I don't pay so much attention to the total conversation around this that I know the answer to all of these things. But I do think there has been a lot of conversation early on in the AI world here about, or in the current just state of things, about this possibility of sort of endless ad creation being something that now can happen, and you can just sort of win by creating the most stuff. And I'm starting to really think that's wrong. That's the point that I think I'm against. I think my core thesis here, however it plays out in detail, my core thesis here is that the best ideas are going to win more, not less than before. And that in that respect, AI is going to function like a lot of technological tools, where the people who win the biggest are actually a smaller and smaller group of people who can do this at the most scale. There's sometimes a way in which this happens that well, I shouldn't say that's what all technological tools do. Lots of technological tools do accrue lots of value to lots of people, and there's a lot you could say about that. But they do seem to disproportionately accrue value to the people who are best at them the fastest, or to the smartest people the fastest, or whatever it is. And I think there will be some version of that playing out in our space, to where the really, really great advertisers, I saw Barry Hott tweet this, and maybe it was Alex Cooper saying that it was his idea originally. I'm not sure. One of them, smart guys, one of them was saying something to the effect of, the brands I see winning with AI are the brands that I saw winning before. the brands that were already winning before AI, right? There's people who are making good creative use AI to make really good creative more often, okay? And I think there's something really to that. And that's really what I'm getting at, that if you want to win, there's still a real emphasis that needs to happen on true creative strategy, true offer building, funnel building, those sorts of things. Because if you can do those things now, you can use AI to go really fast, test these things really quickly, and win really, really big. I think there's going to be some brands that win very big by doing exactly that. That's the bet we're making at AJF Growth. We're putting a lot of time and resources now into that whole process, from sorting out the ideas themselves to the production process on the back end to operationalize them. But really, that sorting out the good ideas versus the bad ones first is a huge part of where my effort is going right now. I think that's the way brands are going to win with AI. I think that's at least until some AI tool comes and wipes us all out and says we can sort out the ideas better than you, which, hey, it's possible. All right, I'm going to be sharing more about all that, of course, as it comes down the pipe, as we operationalize some of these things. You should subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, because you're not going to want to miss any of that. I've also got a great episode coming up where I'm going to walk through the brand that I'm starting, like all of the financial details of basically why I'm making the bet I'm making. I want to walk through from a P&L perspective, what it is that I think is compelling about the opportunity, how I think it could go wrong if it goes wrong, which I think there's definitely a good chance that happens, and tell you all about it, show you the brand, show you the product, all those kinds of things. If you're interested in that at all, and thinking through what an e-commerce P&L looks like and why I'd make the bet that I'm going to make, you're not going to want to miss it. So subscribe to this show. That'll come really soon. I've also got Roman Khan coming up, just like one of the smartest guys in our space. Don't miss an episode with Roman Khan. He talked about supply chain as his biggest advantage. And so I just drilled into that and said, like, what are you doing with supply chains that makes you so good and that makes it so that you're building this, giant 9-figure multiple monster brand machine? He's crazy. Just subscribe. Don't miss Roman's episode. Big thanks to RICHPANEL and to FERMAT. You can follow the links in the footnote, in the show notes, not the footnotes, in the show notes of the description to follow up with both of them. I'm a huge fan of both those products, so definitely go check those out. And thanks so much. I think that's it. AJFgrowth.com is the place to get everything that I'm doing. Beginning to think about the possibility of taking on some more brands. If you're interested, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. That's it. I think that's it. Thanks so much. I would love to hear if you disagree with me. Oh, that's it. If you disagree with me, podcast@ajfgrowth.com. Email me. Tell me about it. Thanks. That's it. I'm done. Bye.